Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's edition of the IU's Global Outlook. My name is Tom Rafferty. I'm the head of global forecasting at the IU, and I'm joined today by my colleague Stephen Leslie, who's one of our global principal economists based out of our New York office. We are going to be talking about the US economy. A great source of resilience in the global economy at the moment. US economy is having a great run despite high interest rates, despite high inflation. A lot of positives going on. So, Stephen, that story still holds, right? Growth slowed a little bit in the first quarter of this year. A little bit of softness in the most recent jobs data, but overall, US economy is still growing pretty rapidly for an economy of its stage of development.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, the growth has been strong. It's been a little bit surprisingly, hearteningly strong. And actually, at this point, indicators, releases that show a little bit of a slowdown are usually taken as a good sign that the economy is coming back into equilibrium. So you mentioned the latest inflation figures and the job figures. So those are the two latest that show that the economy, while strong, is not overheated.
Okay, so a bit of a cooling from an overheating position. And how are you looking at the next 12 months? Do you see a bit more softness coming yet, or a lot more resilience? Which way do you lean on that?
Well, we do, yeah. The job of the Fed now, unlike the job of the federal government, is to get the economy to cool down, to bring that inflation down. Of course, the inflation target is 2%. We're still above 3%. The latest figure was 3.4% on the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So that's still way too high, even if it is ticking down a little bit slowly. They will want to get inflation down, and to do that, they'll have to cool the economy. So we expect that in our forecast. For example, for this year, we're expecting the economy to grow by 2.2%, and then next year, 2025, by 1.8%. So that's a cool down from the 2.5% that we already know that the economy notched in 2023, which was a little too strong. But still, those numbers around 2% are very good for a developed, market economy like the U.S. And that's about the speed limit, frankly.
Okay, that sounds like a soft landing to me overall. I guess as you said here, growth is quite resilient, inflation is quite high, so it's quite a tough task for the Fed at the moment to bring about that cooling. And yeah, we have got a forecast for that first rate cut from the Fed this September, another one in December as well. So how do you see the risks around that forecast at the moment? Is there a decent possibility, for example, that the Fed may not be in a position to cut rates at all this year because of the strength of the economy?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. It's for us, we're saying that there's going to be a rate cut starting in September and then another one in December. So two in this calendar year. Now, for us, that's a low conviction call, I would say. If you'd ask me to put a percentage possibility on it, I'd say it's a 55% possibility. I would retain 35% for the Fed just holding rates throughout the year, which is possible if inflation continues to be stubborn and bumpy, as they're saying. And then, of course, I think you have to hold open a 10% possibility for the Fed in certain circumstances, even having to raise rates. So, there are a lot of very unexpected things that can happen. We've had a couple of them in the last few years. So we have to, and that is to say the pandemic and then Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. And, there could be some other similar event. It's not in our central forecast, but, there could be an event like that really twists things around and leads to unexpected results.
Okay. One interesting event, obviously, is the US election, right? Coming up in November. Now we're forecasting still a Biden re-election. It's a pretty kind of similar to the Fed call. It's a low confidence call, I guess you could put it like that. How do you see the current economic outlook influencing that election? Biden has got a strong story to tell in the US economy in terms of growth and jobs, but at the same time, there's also an issue of inflation, higher prices for basic goods, which are really influencing the way voters are thinking about things. So how do you see the economic outlook playing into the election in November?
Yeah, well, traditionally, we said that the economy was the most important thing in an election.
Mm.
I think that that's less true now. There's a lot of other issues that are non-economic, immigration being one of them. A lot of the culture war issues are increasingly important here in the United States in recent years. So I think it's not, the economy being the overriding issue at this juncture. Also, although for us as economists, we look at the numbers, we say the economy is doing great. Inflation's coming down, job growth and GDP growth have been strong. A lot of Americans aren't feeling it that way. And so there is a very kind of still grumpy attitude about the economy. And that may be fading and it may be getting a little more upbeat, but I don't know if it's going to get upbeat in time for Joe Biden to win re-election. Part of the problem was that in 2021 and 2022, American workers actually suffered a fall in their real wages because inflation spiked so high. So that has just turned around in 2023, but there's still some resentment over that loss of purchasing power in the two preceding years. So it's not an obvious case that with a economy that's strong on paper that solidifies Joe Biden's chances for re-election in November.
But at the moment, it's fair to say that we think the economic outlook is supportive of a Biden re-election rather than not supportive. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. I mean, it could be a poor economy, and that would really put him in a tight spot. But he's going to have more than a strong economy to lift him to a re-election victory.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Stephen, for that update on the US outlook for the economy and also got a bit about politics there. And thank you all for listening. Tune in for next month's EIU Global Outlook.